Every day in business starts with a number. Output, productivity, efficiency, all measured in numbers, because data drives decisions. And if fire or water damage strikes, the numbers for your business can slow, or even stop. Unless you know this one, 1-800-SERVPRO, the #1 choice in commercial cleanup and restoration.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is Iracing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is Iracing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3YT for tonight's broadcast. The American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here from the Darlington Raceway. It is race number 1 of the round of 12 here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series playoffs. And of course it is at the track that is too tough to tame. Who will tame this racetrack here tonight? I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth as always is Mr. Greg Rentz. And Greg, great to be back at Darlington, and we got a little bit of a treat for the people watching here tonight. It's a throwback race.
It is, Peter, a huge race at that throwback night and the first round of the playoffs. That's a double dip that you can't find anywhere else but right here on 3YTV. A lot of drivers running special throwback schemes, and it was opened up not just to NASCAR throwbacks, but you could run a throwback to any car you want. We see some NASCAR cars. We see some real-life cars. We see some cars with special meaning to some of these drivers. All kinds of different throwback stories going on throughout the series here tonight. So we're looking forward to bringing it to you. There you see some of the amazing throwbacks on screen right now. You can only find something like this at Darlington. This is an awesome facility. It's become one of the most popular events of the year, not just in real life, but now becoming a staple of iRacing as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned the fact that some of these paint schemes that are running are very special for some of these drivers. Well, AJ Digby right there, he's running, I believe, his dad's paint scheme. But we also have a couple drivers in the field running a paint scheme in honor of a former American Sim Racing Series champion who we lost last week. Unfortunately, if you have not heard the news, Bryce Whitson, you see right there in the bottom of your, the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, passed away last week. And it's an absolute shame that he passed away. A champion many times and a 20-plus time race winner here in the American Sim Racing Series. All of the Hendrick Motorsports team cars this last weekend at Dover ran a sticker for Bryce Whitson because he was a member of Hendrick Motorsports. He was one of their aerodynamicists who worked on the aerodynamics team for their Cup cars and was an integral part of their team. And of course, here tonight we are remembering him with a couple of drivers running his paint schemes from years past. We have the logo down there in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So definitely a big shame. Our thoughts and prayers go out to his family. I know a lot of people here in the American Sim Racing Series, definitely it has hit them hard because he was an integral part of this league and what it has become here today. But Greg, It is the first race here of the round of 12. We have to look at the playoff picture because we have a new points leader, Greg Evans, in the number 2 machine. Due to the fact he has so many wins on the season, got a ton of playoff points, and he's actually jumped over John Jenkins. So Greg Evans and John Jenkins coming into tonight 1 and 2 in points, and a pretty healthy margin over the rest of the field.
Yeah, going to be fun to see how he handles being in the points lead now, as Evans 9 wins on the season for him in the regular season. So it was definitely a great effort for him to get that number 1 seed here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Moving in to this playoff series, he is the new points leader. That's not to take anything away from John Jenkins, though. He had a spectacular run throughout the regular season in his number 7 car, picking up 2 wins in the number 7 throughout the course of the season. Very strong, always ran fast. Looking forward to seeing how these guys all react to being in the playoffs now, because now the intensity ramps up even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Who will come away with the victory here tonight? Greg Evans, like you mentioned, has 9 wins on the season. John Jenkins, Tyler Seville, and Mitch Brown, the only drivers to go to victory lane more than once, except for Greg Evans. So Evans kind of thinking up the show just a little bit here in the regular season. But things are going to change now, because now that we're in the playoffs, we have tonight's race, which is, of course, here at Darlington. But then next week, we do go, I believe, to Richmond, which is one of the Slice Porcupines races. So that's going to be a lot of fun. But, of course, we also got the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown race number 8, which is tonight. Got to give a huge shout out to SERVPRO for jumping on board and sponsoring the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. Of course, it is a championship within a championship. And, Greg, that's coming down to the wire. There's only 3 races left tonight here at Darlington, Charlotte Motor Speedway in about 4 weeks' time from now. And then we wrap up the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown on October 27th at Martinsville. And that's going to be a super awesome event to find out who's going to win that steering wheel that SERVPRO has put up as the champion of that. Of course, SERVPRO are basically your group of people who you go to if you have any type of big mess. And I know with a couple of hurricanes bearing down here on the United States, definitely SERVPRO are going to be doing a lot of cleaning up in those areas. They're a great group of people to not only clean things up, but also get rid of COVID. If you have COVID in the office, hit them up, because they can get out all the bad bugs and all of the good stuff to return to your office place or home or whatnot. But here we are in the qualifying session here, and looks like we already got some times jumping up on the board.
Right now, Alex Giese at the top in a 27.245. James Lorello second, 27.397. Times filling in, Peter, already 8 on the board right now. Alex Giese in the number 77 is quick time right now. But we know how quickly things can change, especially here at Darlington, Peter, because the slightest touch to the wall discounts the lap on Iracing. And at Darlington, that's kind of just the thing you just got to accept. You're going to tap the wall at least once, maybe twice throughout the course of the race. So it could happen in qualifying, and we could see some fast guys in the back if that is the case.
Absolutely. And Alex Giese, he is not a stranger to starting near the front of the field. Giese is a qualifying master, and so far still atop the leaderboard in that number 1 machine. Meanwhile, Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine, he's one of those drivers running the Bryce Whitson Jr. throwback schemes here tonight. He's slotted into second. What can the 11 machine of Seville do as he crosses the stripe? Looks like Seville in that number 11 machine currently mid-pack. 12 out of the 19 cars so far take time. And Greg Evans, your points leader, going to jump up there into the top 3, Greg.
And Evans is one of those drivers who's paying tribute to Bryce Whitson. There you see Greg Evans. He's got his sponsors on board, Freightliner, Alliance Truck Parts, Duct Tape, the usual. But that is one of the paint schemes that Bryce Whitson drove over the years in the ASRS. So Greg Evans paying attention to one of his fiercest competitors on track. Here we see Brandon Stokes in the number 19. Actually, sorry, this is Cody Spiker, Brandon Stokes' teammate in the 19, paying tribute to Dale Jarrett, the old UPS paint scheme, on board the number 19 here today. We want Dale to race the truck. Remember those old commercials and that big movement? That's what he is going with here in the number 19. And who can remember, or who can forget, the final All-Star race of Dale Jarrett's career where he finally took the big brown truck out for a spin?
Yeah, that was really awesome to see that he finally got to race the truck out there on the track. But looks like the number 19 machine going to go around the racetrack just a little bit more. Here's a familiar paint scheme, the number 34 machine of Kelsey Rogers out there on the racetrack right now. Oh, gets loose coming out of turn number 4. I think we're going to see that a couple of times here tonight. Looks like, yeah, he's going to bring it to a halt here, and possibly it's going to get back going. That's a bit of a surprise. There's a Terry Labonte paint scheme sitting on pit road, but here's AJ Digby. He's running a paint scheme in honor of his father as he comes across the stripe here to begin a time lap in that number 14 machine. And Greg, we've seen a lot of pace out of this race car driver right here on your screen.
We have limited starts in this series, but he has not let that get to him. A win on the season in Iowa. Joined the series too late to be able to make the playoffs, but has had fantastic runs in this number 14 car. Expecting another one out of him here today. Currently 11th on the charts after lap number 1. A 27.367 down. We'll see if he crosses the strike as you're looking at Jason Stewart. That is an awesome one, Peter. The old number 1 Rick Mast throwback. Love that paint scheme. Been a big fan of that one for years. I was really excited to see Jason Stewart running that one in his entry here tonight. That's the thing we love about Throwback Week. Regardless of everything that happens, you just see so many different awesome paint schemes going on throughout the course of it. Here you see Adam Jersky, the number 69. Wonder what kind of cheesecake is cooking in the oven at the number 69 shop here today as he's out here at Darlington. Pumpkin spice is what our producer says. You think it's still just a hair too early for the pumpkin spice season to start there, Peter?
You know, I was reading something that Starbucks is actually going to make the pumpkin spice come out earlier this year, and I absolutely cringed when I saw that. We don't need that, folks, not yet. I know it's 2020, but let's
2020.
Yeah, can we just hold off on that? But nonetheless, here we are at Darlington Raceway. Great to see a couple of throwbacks out there. There's the number 41 machine of Tim Knott. I think, Greg, that these drivers out here just trying to get a little bit of extra practice time out there on the racetrack and try and feel it out here before we go racing here in just a little bit. But let's see if we can possibly dial up one of the playoff drivers that we will see out here. Let's see if we can dial up possibly, I don't know, let's see if we can dial up Tyler Seville. How about that in the number 11 machine? Where is he? There he is. And there we go, finally. Tyler Seville, Peter Short, 3Y TV. Got a copy?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. You come into tonight, 3rd place in the point standings. It is the round of 12. How are you going to get yourself into the round of 8 here in a couple of races' time?
Well, judging from how this race ran last year, it's just going to be slow and steady, I think, to get up through the field. I'm usually pretty good at saving tires, so I just have to cautiously work my way up. This is, out of this round, this is the track I'm most worried about. I feel like other than this track, I probably have the speed to get into the next round based on speed, so it's just getting out of Darlington in one piece.
Yeah, well, you got Richmond and Charlotte, the next 2 races in this round of 12. Good luck here tonight, and good luck over this round. We'll see if you can make it into the round of 8 here in a couple races' time.
All right, thank you.
All right, that is Tyler Seville comes into tonight 3rd place in points. But Greg, let's see if we can dial up someone else. Why don't we see if we can dial up Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine. He's one of those drivers running a special paint scheme here tonight in memory of Bryce Whitson Jr. Real fast. Brian Yazik, Peter Short, and 3Y TV booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, you're out there running one of the Bryce Whitson Jr. paint schemes, but it's also the round of 12 here tonight. How are you going to get yourself into the round of 8 here in a couple races?
You know, it's just a matter of execution at this point in the year. You really can't afford you can't afford mistakes, and you can't afford to start out back. So qualifying, you know, the sharp end of the field is a great way to start these races off. Good couple tracks coming up. I know the Roval, a lot of people don't like looking forward to that. I'm a fan of that place, but Yeah, it's just just solid execution from top to bottom, really.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, from top to bottom, well, you're at the top right now, inside the top 5 here in qualifying. Congratulations on a good qualifying run, and hopefully you can come out of this race unscathed.
We're hoping so. We're going to bring her home. Hopefully we'll talk to you here, what you say, about an hour and a half or so there, Pete?
Yeah, something like that. Hopefully all goes to plan. I love racing at Darlington, and great to see that paint scheme on your car here tonight.
It's great to run it, but it hurts to run it at the same time. We're just going to try and do the best for Bryce and his memory, and see if we can't put her in victory lane.
All right, well, we'll let you get back to it there, Brian, here just over a minute until we start to grid. Best of luck. All right, well, that is the number 55 machine of Brian Yazek starting up inside the top 5. And Greg, interesting to hear from Tyler Seville. You know, he said this is his 1 bogey track here in the round of 12. He's going to be starting mid-pack. I mean, 20th right now in qualifying. That is not a Tyler Seville qualifying run that we typically see.
No, and I'm wondering, Peter, if what we talked about a moment ago may have happened with him. He may have scraped the wall on his second qualifying lap, get the Darlington stripe a little early here as far as qualifying goes, or the race procedure, I should say, goes, and getting in a position where he's now going to have to work his way through the field, 20th on the charts with just 13 seconds left in qualifying. That's going to wrap it up. 29 drivers taking time, Peter. They are all within 9/10 of a second of each other, in each other. And the lone man out there is Richard Stallings. The rest of the field is within half a second of each other. 1st to 28th, all qualifying within half a second of each other. That just shows you how tight this field is today.
Absolutely. The field is very tight here in the first race of the round of 12. It is the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series playoffs, round 8 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown as well. And the cars are gridding down here on the front straightaway. And it is the number 77 machine of Alex Giese once again getting another pole. Now, what has been his Achilles heel has been finishing these races. He's very, very fast in qualifying, but doesn't seem to pan out with a strong race run. We'll have to find out whether or not that trend can be bucked here tonight. Starting to his outside, the number 29 machine of Will Worsler, another front row start for one of the Will Worsler racing machines. Starting on the inside of row number 2, the number 7 machine, can't miss that paint scheme, the Alan Kolwicki throwback of John Jenkins. And to his outside, the Bryce Whitson Memorial number 2 machine of Greg Evans. On the inside of row number 3 is Brian Yazek and one of those other Bryce Whitson Jr. paint schemes. We just talked to him, starting on the inside of row number 3. And to his outside, the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins, also sporting a throwback paint scheme here tonight. Row number 4 on the inside is the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, and to his outside is the number 57 machine of Craig Stykes, always fast in that 57 machine. On the inside of row number 5 is the number 24 machine. That is Alan Young, Young Gun Creations on the hood of that paint scheme, as always. One of those throwback paint schemes as well. And to his outside, Woody Mohan in the Derek Cope throwback there, Greg.
Going to be AJ Digby rolling off in 11th in the car paint tribute to his father, with Michael Krobock, another one of those HPP Loud Pedal Motorsports guys, paint tribute to Bryce Whitson. Jackson Van Valkenburg in the number 23 going to roll off behind them, with James Lorello to the outside in the number 3. Adam Jersky coming up in the number 69, 15th. Final guy in the playoffs was Christopher Bouchard. He rolls off 16th. Cody Spiker, Tanner Sharp, Brandon Stokes, and Tyler Seville round out the top 20, Peter. As they're getting set to come to the green, we're going to have to make this quick.
Yeah, the number 99 of Clarence Bonner rolls off 21st. To his outside, Jordan Harnish. Tim Knott, Lee Staples on row number 12. Jimmy McKee, Sam Crow, row number 13. Ed Bray, Pete Baskins on row 14. Richard Stallings, Kelsey Rogers, Jared Hagerty will not be starting. Michael Whiting, J.R. Bash, and Todd Kirkwood round out your field here tonight. Pace truck about to head down pit road. The Hacksaw PC's playoffs, round number 8 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here tonight, about to kick off. Alex Giese in the number 77 machine will lead us down to the green, nice and slow at 60 miles an hour, waiting for the green flag to drop. And there it is. We are playoff racing in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here on 3Wide TV. Good start for the number 29 machine, though. Will Worcester, he's going to try and get to turn number 1 first. He does. Will Warser already out front. He is one of the playoff drivers. You'll see the playoff drivers with the blue names on the left-hand side of your screen as the field's starting to stack up just a little bit behind the 77 of Giese. The 29 of Will Warser clean out front.
Looks with a nice jump on the early going here. Trying to come down. He will lead lap number 1 here at Darlington. And then leading laps at Darlington, that's something to be pretty proud of here, Peter, as he is rolling his way through in the number 27. But here comes Giese in the number 77, trying to reel him back. Looks like Jared Hagerty is going to make it out in the number 6, a lap down after missing the initial start. Your top 5 as they run Worstler, Giese, Jenkins, Evans, Doug Mullins, running a pretty cool one here. Peter, I've always been a fan of that old Greg Sachs Slim Jim paint scheme that he's got on board, with the Porcupine's name, of course, on board. One of the proud sponsors of Will Worstler Racing. But the number 18 Doug Mullins, nice paint scheme and interesting story behind that car. We'll have to see if we can tell more of the story on that one later on.
And Greg, I'm seeing right now James Lorello in the number 3 machine. He has headed down pit road and looks like he has taken it to the garage. Heavy contact on the back of the screen in turn number 1. We were focused on the what was happening up at the front right there on lap number 1. But on lap number 1, turn number 1, the number 3 got into the wall. And when he hit the wall, got a little bit of contact from behind, and just like that, it was on from there. Looks like the 03, I do believe, of Tanner Sharp also might have got a good chunk of damage as well in the Shriners Hospital for Children scheme. And now Tim Knott in the number 41. Looks like something happened with him. He might have caught the outside wall coming out of turn number 2, picking up his Darlington stripe, but a lot of damage on some of these cars towards the back of the pack from that early contact.
And unfortunately, no fast repairs in this series, so they're going to have to deal with that throughout the course of the run. Meanwhile, something going on with your pole sitter, Alex Giese, the 77. Something still going on. He was in second when they caught the strike last time. Problems in front of him. They fan out in front of him. Not sure what happened, but we are 3-4 wide down the front stretch of Darlington. Let's take a look at the 3 wide TV replay. Peter, what in the world just happened?
Yeah, watch the number 7 machine of John Jenkins with that Alan Kulwicki scheme. He caught the wall there just a little bit. Greg Evans nowhere to go but into the side. They make contact. Great job by both the 7 and the number 2 to let that kind of all play out. They got sorted back up and they're back going. So maybe a little bit of harm, but no foul here in the early going. That has allowed Will Worstler in the number 29 machine to scoot out to quite a big lead over his teammate, the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins. You see the yellow spoiler, yellow banner, and yellow front splitter on that number 29 machine. That indicates that that driver right there is one of the playoff drivers. You don't see that on the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins right there in second. He's not one of those playoff drivers. You can also see the playoff drivers indicated by blue text on their names there on the left-hand side of the screen. So kind of doing double duty, so you can't miss what drivers are indeed here in the Hacksaw PC's playoffs here in the round of 12. There's the number, let's see, that's the number 72 there of Michael Krobock. He is also sporting one of the Bryce Whitson Memorial paint schemes. There he is right there, currently running back around the 11th position. Just lost that position to the number 14 machine of AJ Digby. Digby starting to work his way towards the front, now inside the top 10 here in the early going, Greg. But right now, things looking really good for the number 29 machine of Will Worstler out front.
Worstler has had a great run here in the early going, 1.3 seconds over his teammate Doug Mullins. And Peter, Doug Mullins has won 2 straight of our Throwback Series races and has been very close in the Cup Series a couple times. There we see last week's winner, Brandon Stokes, in the number 19, having some issues. Heavy damage on his car. We look at the 3 wide TV replay to see if we can diagnose the problem with him in that time. And he's been out there for a little while, so we're going to have to go back and dig even further. So we're back live now as he's on pit road. The Daytona winner having problems, looking like he's not going to go back-to-back as one car going down on the backstretch near the middle of the pack. That was number 7 of Pete Baskins. He's running a new, interesting paint scheme. Not a paint scheme associated with this guy very often as opposed to his classic Lowe's or Ally paint schemes. He's paying tribute to Jimmy Johnson all the way back in the Busch Series days.
Yeah, pretty cool to see that number 27 machine. That was back when Jimmy Johnson was, of course, sponsored by Excedrin. There was the red car and the blue car. but he's showing the blue car off here tonight, so pretty cool to see that. Meanwhile, mid-pack, around the 10th position or so, AJ Digby, Alex Giese, Michael Krobock. There's a big gaggle of cars right now. The number 14 machine leading this group. Look at the number 50, as Christopher Bouchard. He has a little bit of damage in that number 50 machine, a little bit of left side damage on that race car. Of course, that's the Ron Bouchard throwback here tonight. No relation between Christopher and Ron, but both sharing the last name as he works his way coming out of turn number 4 and trying to get underneath the number 19 here, Cody Spiker, in that UPS paint scheme. Looks like Bouchard, oh, there's contact! And into the wall goes Spiker in the number 19 machine. He got sandwiched between the Darlington wall and the number 50 machine. We'll see what happened here, Greg.
I'm pretty sure he wishes he was in the UPS truck right now, because that thing would have taken that hit a lot softer than what just happened here. You see Bouchard going to the inside and just running out of room, and that's a risky take here at Darlington. Tyler Seville, Jordan Harnish and company doing a nice job getting through that. There's Clarence Bonner and still getting through.
Contact between the number 57 and the number 7. Let's see if we can go back on replay about a lap or so, because there was heavy contact between John Jenkins in the number 7 machine and the number 57 of Stykes. Here we go, going off into turn number 3. Watch Stykes here, Greg, down on the bottom of the racetrack. Gonna try and let this car slide up the racetrack. The number 7 is there. Both of them hard into the outside wall. The rest of the field checking up. And the number 7 there of John Jenkins here in the early going, really getting tossed around. Remember, that's the second time.
Another one. We got a caution. We got a big one up in turn number 2. Chris Bouchard, playoff driver. We got Woody Mohan, who he beat out for that final playoff spot involved. This all happened right around John Jenkins, who was slow on the track because a lot of damage to him. We're taking a look now at the replay.
Yeah, there was some playoff drivers there, and look at Seville there in the number 11 machine. He might have caught a piece of that as well.
Did he get through that, or did he catch a piece? That was really close. That's a couple playoff drivers right there, like we just saw on there. Not the good start for playoff drivers they were looking for. We go on board with Tyler Seville into number 11. Does he get a piece of this? Yes. Just barely. I think he's going to be able to continue, though.
Yeah, this is a racetrack where you really do want to protect the car. There is a lot of high speeds, especially in turn number 1 and 2, where you want to allow the front end of the race car to have as much downforce as possible. But it looks like that number 11 machine has just the most minimal of damage. Meanwhile, the number 50 of Bouchard going heavy into that outside wall. I'm sure he's going to have to come down pit road. There's a bunch of cars right now coming down to their pit box. Remember, we do have tire limits here in the Hacksaw PCs series. And one thing about this race here tonight, Greg, in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown, we actually have 3 sets of tires on pit road. So 4 total sets of tires here tonight.
So some of these drivers are electing to go with it. 147 laps distance now. We're working lap 17 right now, so there's about 130 laps to go. Still early here in this one, but some drivers taking advantage of that extra set of tires to say, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go out and go for it here for the rest of the way. Meanwhile, back up in the lead is Greg Evans into number 2. After the points reset, is your points leader into number 2. And with his biggest competition throughout the regular season, John Jenkins, having that incident early on, that's got to feel good for Greg Evans right now, knowing that the guy who's been with him in the points the longest is having issues here in the early going.
Absolutely. We're going to take a brief step away. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV and reset the field for you.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is Iracing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is Iracing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Darlington Raceway. A little bit of an aerial look of the Darlington Raceway. They're pretty cool to see this uniquely shaped racetrack, Greg. I know, whenever we come to Darlington, we talk about the shape of this racetrack, and it is so unique that you have one end of the racetrack so different from another. I know some tracks, like Texas Motor Speedway, they've tried to mimic it, but to no avail. I mean, there's no track that comes close to what Darlington Raceway is like.
No, Darlington is definitely a one-of-a-kind facility, Peter, and that is what makes this track so special. It's called the Lady in Black for a reason. When this track was first built back in the 40s, the pavement was solid black, and you had to really know how to drive. You had to dance with the lady, as they called it, to really be able to succeed here. And even though that the pavement is grayed out, it still is just like it was, because you have got to drive on the wheel the entire distance at this track.
Absolutely. That is 100% for sure. I know I've raced at Darlington many, many times, and I've been in races where I've caught that Darlington stripe on lap number 2, and it's been with me the entire race. And I gotta say, the best races I've ever had at Darlington are the races where I can mitigate that Darlington stripe until late in the race. But nonetheless, let's reset the field for you just a little bit, because we have had a change at the front, and Greg Evans in the number 2 machine is now the race leader. Will Warsler in the number 29 machine, he was leading before we had that caution flag came out, but he came down pit road. He's the first car off pit road with fresh tires. Front 7 did not pit. We'll find out how that works out for him, because the green flag is back in the air. The number 2 machine of Greg Evans, your points leader coming into tonight in the round of 12 for the Hacksaw PC's playoffs. And of course, he has won so many of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown races here this season, currently leading the way. But Greg, I think we're going to find out here very quickly that fresh tires do mean quite a bit here at Darlington, because that number 29 machine of Will Warsler already trying to eat up the number 23 machine of Van Valkenburg.
Already gotten around McKee, going after Stewart now. Coming up now on Alan Young in the number 24. And remember what we talked about in the pre-race? It was open up to anybody open up to any throwback scheme that meant something to you. And Alan Young is paying tribute to a late model that he was a pit crew member on that won a big race in Vermont a couple years ago with that paint scheme on the that he's running in the number 24. So cool to see him paying tribute to some of his real-life success. But Will Warsler, he is eating them up, Peter. He's already up to 4th, trying to catch up to these guys.
Yeah, he's right behind the number 72 HPPsimulation.com Ford Mustang of Michael Krobock. You can see Will Warsler all over the back. He's going to try and get underneath Krobock here down the backstretch. He does indeed, and Krobock very wisely just going to let him sail on by a little bit of give and take here in the early going at Darlington. Of course, Krobock being one of those playoff drivers, I think he's going to hope to see a little bit of give and take from some of the other drivers out there on the racetrack at some other times. But for now, Krobock doing a lot of giving here because he is on those older tires, now sliding back to the 6th position.
Showing you what those old tires stack up with when it comes to the new tires. Battle going on for 3rd now as AJ Digby to the inside of Brian Yazek. A couple winners on the season, but Will Worsler making it look easy as he goes around Greg Evans into number 2. And Peter, how many times this season have we seen Will Worsler and Greg Evans battling for the lead?
Quite a few times, but you know what's crazy, Greg? We've only seen Will Worsler go to victory lane once this season, and that was all the way back at Phoenix. Meanwhile, side-by-side battle for second. Here comes AJ Digby, who also has 1 win to his name this season. He gets underneath that number 2 machine, so move Digby in the auto value machine, now up into second. Evans back to third. Yazik still holding on to fourth. He was one of those drivers who did not pit yet. Tyler Seville now in the 5th position, trying to work his way forward here tonight. Definitely great to see that number 11 machine kind of throwing a little bit of a Denny Hamlin throwback from some of Denny Hamlin's early years in the Cup Series tonight. But there's AJ Digby. Can Digby run down the number 29 machine? We have seen Will Worsler be strong pretty much from lap 1, turn 1. That's when he took the lead for the first time. And here again, out front here at Darlington.
Digby is the satellite driver for Will Worsler Racing. He works with Will Worsler and company up there, so we know he's got some speed. We've seen it in the past. Whoa, Tyler Seville and Greg Evans behind them. We were on board with AJ Digby, but wow, behind them, Greg Evans throwing a block on Tyler Seville, and Seville saying, no, sir, I want through, as he brings Doug Mullins with him. We're going to take a look at the 3xTV replay. Watch this off of turn number 2. They come down the backstretch, Seville going down, Evans saying nope, and Seville with a huge cross back to the top. Kind of cut off his teammate a little bit there, but they both get through.
Yeah, now Evans has slid back to 5th on those older tires, and also you have to think about the fact that he is yet to come down and make a pit stop. We do believe that the pit window is about 60 laps or so here tonight. So they might be able to go as far as 65 to 70 if they really stretch it. So Evans here now probably about halfway on fuel in that tank. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, there's another throwback paint scheme. That's the number 99 machine driven by Clarence Bonner. Throwback to Carl Edwards in his first few years in the Cup Series in NASCAR. And see, great looking paint scheme there. There's the number 57 machine of Stykes trying to work his way forward. Remember, he was involved with some pretty heavy contact with the number 7 machine of John Jenkins not all too long ago. But meanwhile, back up towards the front, Doug Mullins and Tyler Seville. A couple of teammates here battling it out here inside the top 5.
Doug Mullins has been so strong in the last couple of weeks. Those 2 wins in the Throwback Series have really catapulted him here in the Cup Series as well. He's been running very, very strong here. They have broken away from Greg Evans, but just like that, it's going away as the caution is out.
And it is another one of our throwback paint scheme drivers, Ed Bray in the number 66, Boswell's Country Roads Harley-Davidson has come to a halt in turn number 2. We'll see what happened here on the replay. Ooh, we'll have to see if there was any contact that led up to that, but there was the number 4 machine of J.R. Bash, and unfortunately, the only bashing that was there was the number 66 bashing the outside wall. Let's see if we can see this from another angle. There's the number 44 of Whiting in front of him. Oh, man, I don't know if he just got loose up there, came down into the 44. That was kind of a tough one to call there, Greg.
Yeah, that's a tough one there, because that also plays a role in just tight quarter racing in Darlington. Here we go on board with Ed Bray, see what he saw in the gyro cam. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I think the 44 might have just washed up just a little bit. We'll have to see how the out-of-race officials call that one. But definitely some close quarter racing here, kind of in the early going. And Greg, this goes back to the give and take that you kind of have to do here at Darlington, especially with how these cars lose grip over the run. Meanwhile, we have a group of cars coming down pit road, and really, Greg, this is the group of cars who did not come down pit road last time, so they're going to get a little bit off strategy versus your current race leader, Will Worsler, AJ Digby, Tyler Seville, Doug Mullins, Cody Spiker, top 5 staying out. But then Greg Evans, Yazik, Young, Krobock, Van Valkenburg, and a plethora of others all coming down pit road. Some of these drivers probably coming down pit road to get damage repaired. Not all of them here will probably take tires, but definitely great to see some alternate strategy here tonight. And of course, the fact that they do have tire limits here in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series has led to a lot of alternate strategies all season long, and it's been really fun to watch.
It has been really fun to watch, and now we're really going to get to see it because we got several drivers off sequence with each other now. As we got, like you said, about a third of the field on fresh tires, the rest of the field coming out now on even fresher tires. So now it's going to be fun to see if, what was that run, about 10 laps or so on that run? We'll see what the difference of 10 laps on tires makes here for this run. Will Worcester leading the way, AJ Digby second, Tyler Seville, Doug Mullins, Cody Spiker, after catching the wall early in the UPS car, back up into the top 5, but still a lot of damage to that number 19. It'll be interesting to see how he can keep rolling here throughout the next green flag run.
So I'm looking at live timing and scoring. Your top 7 drivers stayed out there on the racetrack. Greg Evans in the number 2 machine will be the first car off pit road with fresh tires. He will be restarting in 8th. Gonna go over to the chat now, see who's hanging out in the chat. Looks like we got Fat Dog Racing IR18, and we also got the DMLC Racing channel. How's it going? Mark, hope all is well with you. Not in the field here tonight, but definitely enjoying a little bit of 3YTV action. I got Nikki Worcester in the chat. I have seen Aunt Kathy in the chat. Hope all is well with you, Aunt Kathy. I'm hearing that you might have a little bit of streaming issues here tonight. Braden Burnett as well, rooting on Trump in 2020, saying Trump 2020. Jim Foose, Golden Horseshoes for sale. I'll tell you what, Jim, how much are those Golden Horseshoes? I'd like to find out. Let me know if you can tell me here in the chat.
Very interested in that.
Yeah, I would like to pick up a Golden Horseshoe if they're on sale. Mark Cohn saying, I need to get poor Woody a 4-leaf clover. Of course, Woody Mohan in the number 84 machine. He was in the running last week for making it into the playoffs, got caught up in an accident. About the same time the 50 of Bouchard got caught up in an accident, just was a kind of a bang-bang play if you were talking about football, but a bang-bang play at Daytona usually ends up in the big one, and that's what it was. Magic Brown also, of course, rooting on AJ Digby here tonight in the chat. Hopefully you guys are sitting back, watching the race, and enjoying. Tyler Orn saying, hello, how's it going, Tyler? Let us know how your night is going, who you're rooting on, and whether or not you like Darlington. I personally love this racetrack. I love racing here. I love watching the races in real life here. It's just a unique racetrack with that egg shape. No other racetrack races like that. You let this swing, you let the car swing high, wide, and handsome in the corners. So much fun watching these cars zip around this racetrack because it's so fast, Greg. That's one thing that you don't think about when you come to Darlington. It's just how fast this racetrack is.
Yeah, these things whip around the outside, Peter. They're right up next to the wall, a couple of inches off the wall, hitting the wall constantly at this racetrack. And like you said, you got to run it right up against that barrier. High, wide, and handsome is the name of the game here at Darlington. So much fun to watch. This has always been one of the most anticipated races on the schedule. And you talked a little bit about the egg shape. That is a result of when they built the track. The property owner in which a minnow pond sat on right behind, I believe it's now turn 3 and 4. At the time it was turn 1 and 2. The minnow pond that's just behind the facility, they had to reconfigure the track because they were not able to get a full-size oval around that track, and the property owner was not willing to change up the minnow pond, so they had to get creative with it, and that's why you see this unique track, which makes for such good racing here.
Yeah, absolutely. I love coming to this track. Meanwhile, the Page Truck lights have turned off, and folks, we got a little bit of 4x3 action for you here tonight. That's right. We're kind of throwing it back to a little bit of an old school look here on 3YTV for the throwback night. And all of these cars out there. We got a couple of cars from the 70s, a couple cars from the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. A whole group of different cars. And one of the cars I'm keeping my eye on this restart, the number 5 machine, Sam Crow, got that number 5 Neil Bonnet paint scheme on the outside of row number 3. What can he do when we go back green here in just a second? Pace truck down pit road. Number 29, Will Worsler on the loud pedal. And we're back green here at Darlington.
You'll see the throwback schemes and what they're paying tribute to on the borders of the screen as we go racing once again at Darlington. And Tyler Seville making quick work of AJ Digby in the number 11 to move up into second position. Tyler Seville started 20th and has already climbed his way up into second position, Peter. We know how much speed that 11 car has. As taking a look at Cody Spiker in the number 19, at least I'm watching him up in the top 5 because I'm curious to see how he does with that damage on. But you see on the inside, Greg Evans, those fresh tires already starting to make moves.
Yeah, those fresh tires are talking, much like they did on the number 29 machine under that last run that we had. Greg Evans now getting himself up into the 6th position just like that. Meanwhile, Brian Yazik in the number 55, HPPsimulation.com, he's also running one of those Bryce Whitson Memorial paint schemes here tonight. He's back there in 8th, trying to get a run on the 57 machine, but here comes Evans. He's making a move underneath the number 19 as Spiker. So move Evans back up into the top 5 as he can set his sights on the number 18 machine of Doug Mullins right in front of him. Doug Mullins, of course, one of the Will Worcester Racing machines who run 1, 2, and 4 right now, but they'll be watching that number 2 machine get a little bit closer in their rear view mirror. Meanwhile, good racing back around the 22nd position or so. Tim Knott, Woody Mohan, Richard Stallings, a couple cars that have been banged up. They've been racing really close with one another here on this restart. We ride on board with the number 18 machine here, Doug Mullins. And pretty cool to see these graphics here. But Mullins has lost that spot to the number 2 machine of Evans. Evans now up to 4th.
Yeah, Evans showing the fresher tires. I mean, it's a reverse of what we saw earlier with Will Worcester and Tyler Seville charging through the field. Now we're seeing it out of Greg Evans in the number 2. He's coming up through the field. He gets around Digby for the 3rd spot, setting his sights now on Worcester and Seville. First up will be Seville, but we saw this a few laps ago when Will Worcester had the fresh tires. Now it's Greg Evans in the number 2 with the fresher tires. And Peter, here's my question about how long before the tires plateau and they're back on even ground?
Here at Darlington, that is a long time. It takes quite a while for these tires to plateau at this racetrack just because this racetrack is so hard on tires. You're 170 miles an hour through turn number 1 and 2, putting all that load on the right front and the right rear to get that car cranked coming out of turn number 4. This track eats up tires, not only because the surface is fairly old, but because just the high speeds you're running. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead. Evans has caught the number 29 of Worcester, and Worcster's just going to lay over here going off into turn number 1. Evans back up to the front in that number 2 machine. Worcester now back to 2nd, Seville in 3rd. Here comes Brian Yazik in the number 55 machine. He is now up to 6th, of course, sporting that Bryce Whitson Jr. paint scheme on that car. He's going to dive to the inside of the number 18 of Mullins. They'll be side by side coming out of the corner. There they are on the right-hand corner of your screen. Now right there in the center of your screen as Brian Yazik is trying to pull that pass off. Looks like he will indeed. So he'll be back inside the top 5. Meanwhile, looking at some of the other drivers on fresher tires, Alan Young currently running in 7th, and Volkenberg behind him, and then Michael Krobock in 9th. Cody Spiker, he's one of those drivers on older tires. He's starting to fall back. He's back to 10th. Meanwhile, Sam Crow in that number 5 machine, the Neil Bonnet throwback paint scheme, he has dropped like a rock. He is all the way back to 17th. So definitely those fresh tires are doing some talking here tonight at Darlington. He's continuing to lose spots there. There goes Kelsey Rogers in the number 34 underneath him. He's going to have to slot in behind him, and Adam Jersky there in the number 69 machine. Adam Jersky currently being scored in 21st, and if he can get around that number 5 machine, he can get up there into the top 20. Meanwhile, we're getting word that Alex Giese has come down pit road in the number 77 machine. Ed Bray has taken his race car to the garage, so a tough break for some of those cars. Lorello was the first retirement after that contact that we mentioned. We didn't get to see it here in the broadcast as we were focused for the battle for the race lead. But Lorello there, contact on lap number 1, he was your first retirement here tonight. But there's some good battling happening around Clarence Bonner in the number 99 machine. Mullins continuing to slide back here, Greg, on those older tires.
Yeah, Bonner, Van Volkenberg breathing down Doug Mullins' neck right now. As well, here comes Krobock to the outside of Bonner. Krobock, another one of those drivers paying tribute to Bryce Whitson, as Clarence Bonner paying tribute to Carl Edwards, he is running the paint scheme of Edwards' first career victory, running the manufacturer of Edwards' last career victory. So kind of a mix-up here with the Clarence Bonner first and a last for Carl Edwards, if you will.
Meanwhile, we have a battle brewing for the 4th position. Alan Young has got around Tyler Seville, and Brian Yazik in the 55 machine. He is caught. The number 29 of Will Worcester. Looks like Will's going to let the 55 machine go by. So Yazik now up into 2nd. We talked about him at the top, or we talked to him at the top of the show here tonight in that HPPsimulation.com Ford. He's quite a bit behind your current race leader, the number 2 machine, but he's definitely where he wants to be at this point in the race, Greg.
Yeah, having a great run is Brian Yazik, winner at Kentucky earlier this season in the number 55, which helped get him into a playoff spot in the number 55. Having a very solid season. He's run very strong, Peter. It was one of those drivers that we knew, okay, he's going to win a race this year. He's running too good not to. It was just a matter of when it would happen, and it happened at Kentucky to get himself in position. And here he is, another very solid run. But look at this battle going on screen right now. This is for 6th between Seville, Bonner, Digby, and Jared Hagerty, who missed the start, started the race a lap down, got the lucky dog. He's up in the top 10 now.
Yeah, absolutely great to see that. Fat Dog Racing asking, oh, what happened to the standings? Well, we've got a little bit of a throwback event here tonight, and we're doing the throwback to some of the earlier years of broadcasting, very reminiscent of some of the other broadcasting groups. The number 99 machine, my octaves went up there a little bit because the number 99 just smacked the wall in turn number 1 and 2. Heavy contact. Bounced back down to the racetrack right in front of the number 6 machine of Hagerty, who is still working around the racetrack. Now up into the 6th position, and Hagerty's had a few good runs here at Darlington. And sporting that Cheerwine machine, once again moving towards the top 5. Jackson Van Valkenburg now all over the back bumper of Will Worcester. Worcester continuing to lose spot. Van Valkenburg gonna make that pass here going off into turn number 3. So Worcester now to the 5th position and going to be in danger of falling out of the top 5 because Jared Hagerty over the last few laps has been about a half second faster on average than Will Worcester. So Worcester here starting to drop like a stone. And Greg, that goes back to your question. How long will it be until these tires kind of level off with one another? And the answer is not after 20 laps. It's going to take a while. Oh, 18 of Mullins and the 26. Heavy into the inside wall. Mullins going back up the racetrack. He's going to grind it to a halt, but there was contact there with the number 26 machine, and that will bring out the caution. Ooh, maybe the 26 not all too happy with that tag on contact. We'll see what happened here. Staples there and the 26 machine getting absolutely thrown into the inside wall. Mullins, man, he was able to just get on the binders enough to bring that car to a halt. But let's see what happened here, Greg.
Going off here, I believe this is turn 1. As they come up, you see Mullins battling. Clears Lee Staples there. Oh, he caught the wall going off turn number 2. Staples just had nowhere to go, and Kelsey Rogers was right there as well. And Mullins, everyone there did a great job getting by Mullins. And with a car sitting there facing you with the driver's door, that's a scary thought as you're coming bearing down on the field. So definitely a good job there by everybody to get through there. But that puts us under caution for the 3rd time tonight. Greg Evans into number 2, leading the way. Brian Yazik in 2nd. Alan Young up to 3rd. How about Jackson Van Valkenburg? Great run for him into number 23. Will Worcester 5th. And Jared Hagerty, no stranger to winning in ASRS competition at Darlington. He won the truck race here last year for the ASRS here, Peter. So Hagerty seems to really like this track.
If I remember correctly, Greg, I think that one has an asterisk by it because I think he crossed the line first and then got a post-race penalty in that number 6 machine, but definitely has proven that he is very, very fast at Darlington here, showing that is the case again here tonight. Interesting to note, though, Greg, that it looks like we didn't have any major takers on pit road, and I'm not all too surprised with that because you go back and you think about the fact that these drivers have 4 sets of tires here tonight, including the set of tires they started on. So we have all these drivers are on their 2nd set right now, so they were probably thinking, hey, I need to make this 2nd set last me until at least halfway in this race, which we're still about 20 laps or so away from. Meanwhile, the number 7 machine John Jenkins is going to be your Lucky Dog Award winner here under this caution, and he will get back on the lead lap. So that should put 23 vehicles on the lead lap when you go back green here shortly. Want to have a brief moment to shout out some of the other sponsors here in the American Sim Racing Series. Of course, we got SERVPRO that are sponsoring tonight's race, but also got to give a shout out to American Regardless. Make sure you check out their clothing, because American Regardless, it's an American-owned company that makes apparel, and they make American apparel. They make apparel that is very much focused towards the United States. Definitely the owner was part of the military, so an awesome group of people. Make sure you check out American Regardless, because they have some awesome stuff. They're a big sponsor here. Victory Lane Quick Oil Change as well, Kirkwood Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing Services, Step Tire, Falcon Race Wraps, all jumping on board at some point this year, as well as DB Sim Racing for sponsoring races. Of course, next week we also have the Slice, I believe it's the Slice Pizza Bar 200, at Richmond, which is going to be really cool to see these cars whipping their way around the Richmond Raceway for 200 laps in that 150 miles. Make sure you join us same time, same place, right here next Tuesday night for the second race in the round of 12. It'll be the second of 3 races because, Greg, this round of 12, it wraps up pretty quickly because we only have the Roval after Richmond, and then we'll find out what 8 drivers make their way into the round of 8.
Yeah, it's going to go very quickly here, Peter. So it is going to be all up and going from here. The time for conservation is done because it is go time for the playoffs. If you're one of those 12 drivers that are in the playoffs, you've got to be up every time because you only have certain amount of races before you're in trouble. So that's why you're seeing these drivers with the yellow playoff banners making their way through the field and taking a little bit more risks than we're used to seeing out of them because they know now it's time crunch. It's time for go out and try and win a championship.
Absolutely. We did have Todd Kirkwood in the chat saying, maybe it's a good thing I'm not out there on the racetrack. But hey, I'll tell you what, Todd Kirkwood had a throwback here tonight. Shame he's not out there on the racetrack for us to show it, but it was a Circuit City throwback from the late 90s. Great looking race car. I really liked that scheme. It really worked with Kirkwood Transportation on the hood, Kirkwood Industries. I'll tell you what, that was a sweet looking ride, Todd, and I hope you can bring that race car back out here over the next couple of weeks because I really thought that was a very slick paint scheme. So hopefully you can bring that one back out. But the one to go here at Darlington, as the pace truck lights have turned off, the flagman showing the 1 signal here before we go back to green. And Greg, it will be the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. Didn't come down and pit. He will be your race leader here once again when we go back green.
Yeah, so Evans leading the way. Playoff point leader entering the night as the points reset, making Evans your points leader. He's got Brian Yazik to his outside. Alan Young still looking for that first win of the season. He's up to 3rd. Great run for Jackson Van Valkenburg in the 23. Up in 4th position. Coming around, green flag going to come out. We're going to start lap number 59 of 147. We're back underway.
And as the sun continues to set here, you can see all the flash bulbs there in the grandstands. Pretty cool to see that as this race transitions over into darkness. Meanwhile, Brian Yazik, what can he do with the number 2 machine? Because we saw Yazik, he was a couple seconds back behind Greg Evans. Now he's going to be right on his rear bumper. Can he get up to the front for yet another lead change here tonight? And how much can Will Worsler hang on? We saw him dropping back through the field. He had a little bit of a time advantage over Jared Hagerty in 6th in the number 6 machine. But now Hagerty all over the back bumper of the number 29 machine. So remember, Worsler is on about 16 or 17 lap older tires than Hagerty. And it won't be all too long here, Greg. We mentioned this earlier before we might start thinking about some of these drivers who came down pit road now about 45 laps ago or so. They might have to think about pitting under green.
Yeah, we're going to see some interesting calls here. And I think these guys who pitted on the first caution. They're going to be hoping for another caution here quickly. They might get it here as we got problems. Clarence Bonner, and I believe that was Jordan Harnish down there on the apron below the track. Yes, it was the Tide Ride throwback having some issues, but what happened there as we saw Bonner, Jimmy McKee, and a couple others involved there? What happened here?
Oh man, looks like Harnish might have clipped the apron just a little bit, slid up the racetrack, and the number 99 machine was there. Bonner there kind of pancaked against the wall. Harnish shot well down the racetrack, down there onto the flat, and Harnish going to lose a ton of track position. He was down in the 10th position, and now he's all the way back to 21st. So Harnish going to have to regroup and get his way forward. Meanwhile, we ride on board with the number 99 machine of Bonner, and he's got a very much crinkled in right front now. He's currently riding in 13th with that Carl Edwards throwback paint scheme. Meanwhile, a little bit behind him is Woody Mohan in the number 84. He's trying to work his way up forward. Whoa! Woody Mohan just went to the basement floor trying to make a pass down there on the flat. You don't see that very often here at Darlington. I mean, that's not really where you want to make a pass here. But he went well down below the apron. And Greg, I don't know if you know this about Darlington Raceway, but when this racetrack was first built, they actually thought that all the drivers would run the flat portion of the racetrack. They didn't think they'd run the banking. And then it wasn't all too long where everyone decided to start using the banking. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead up the front.
Clarence Bonner brought the number 99 down pit road, but we've got the battle between Evans and Yazik, and we knew that they were going to be up there pretty close together, pretty even on those tires. Yazik took his shot there on the inside, so not there yet this time, but he sends a little bit of a message to Evans saying, hey, I'm here and I'm coming for the lead, as he took a look on the inside, taking a little bit of a higher exit to perhaps gain a little bit of momentum to try it again here in turn number 3. We'll see how it goes this time in the turn number 3. Yazik, of course, representing Loud Pedal Motorsports in the number 55. One win on the season, paying tribute to Bryce Whitson as well, the race leader, Greg Evans. Two drivers running former paint schemes of Bryce Whitson here today, and they're running 1-2 right now.
Yeah, great to see those two cars up at the front of the field. Of course, down in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen where we have the tribute to Bryce Whitson Jr. We're going to be running that here for a couple races here on 3 Wide TV as we remember the former American Sim Racing Series champion who passed away last week. Meanwhile, up at the front, things calmed down for just a little bit, riding on board with the number 23 of Van Valkenburg, right behind the 24 of Alan Young. And Greg, great run so far for that number 24 machine. I know coming into tonight, he didn't seem like he was all too confident. He made a post, and it looks like Van Valkenburg's got a run here down the backstretch. But Alan Young made a post saying, I just got to do what I got to do to make it into the round of 8. But so far, so good for that 24.
Yeah, nice run to start it off here at Darlington for that number 24. Been close to getting a win a couple of times this season, hoping that maybe this new paint scheme proves to be what's needed. Remember, he's no stranger to win to historic venues. This season, he won the inaugural race in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley-Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Series at North Wilkesboro in his number 24. Hasn't ran that series since, but has been full-time in the Cup Series, made the playoffs, and here he is running in third right now.
Yeah, pretty cool to see that number 24 machine. He's been strong over the last couple of weeks here. Definitely, I think New Hampshire was kind of the turning point, Greg, for that number 24 machine. He got a little bit of momentum, he had a strong run, and he's really kind of put together some strong runs here, shown a lot of pace on these kind of intermediate tracks. As we ride on board with Greg Evans, the 55, yes, they're almost scraping the wall. But a great run so far here for Young tonight. Also great run for Jackson Van Valkenburg. Hasn't been in all too many races as of late in that number 23 machine, but as of right now, sitting in 4th. Will Worcester still hanging on to a top 5 on those older tires, so maybe we're starting to see those tires kind of plateau with one another, as Worcester now probably only about 15 to 20 laps away from coming down pit road here from needing to pit. Looks like Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine. Did he roll off pit road? Not 100% sure. I don't think so. I think that was just a miskey here on Iracing. Got a notification that he was coming off pit road, but he's still out there right now with a Dale Earnhardt throwback. McKee Lawn Care Services on that number 8 machine. You see it right there, working his way through turn number 1 and 2 right now, solidly inside the top 10. Another one of your Hacksaw PC's playoff drivers here in the round of 12. A little bit further back, we're starting to see the number 7 machine, Rick, of John Jenkins slowly make his way back up towards the top 10 here. He's currently 13th.
Which is impressive because remember, we talked about it a little bit ago, Peter. No fast repairs in this series, and you can tell just looking at it on that camera angle, a lot of damage to the nose of that number 7, the Alan Kulwicki throwback. And just look at it coming down the backstretch right now, a lot of damage to the nose, and he's able to do what he's doing right now, just past Tanner Sharp for 12th, coming up now on Tyler Seville. That is amazing that John Jenkins has been able to continue the way he has, now going after Seville for 11th.
I can confirm that Clarence Bonner in the number 99 machine, I believe he is still on pit road getting his damage repair. His night might be done in that number 99 machine. Meanwhile, John Jenkins in the number 7 machine, Greg, one of the reasons he might be so fast out there is the fact that he has some of the freshest tires right now. He pitted only 18 laps ago. Compare that to Greg Evans right now up at the front. He hasn't pitted in 41 laps. Will Worsler, the driver inside the top 5 that we've been mentioning on the older tires, he hasn't pitted in 58 laps. You can see all that information right up there at the top of the screen. So it won't be all too long before we see some of these drivers on pit road. But I think once some of these drivers do come down pit road, Greg, it might force some of the other drivers who have slightly fresher tires right now, might force them on pit road maybe a little bit earlier than they're hoping.
That's exactly what I was just thinking. I was wondering if when these drivers on older tires come down, the drivers on the newer tires would, because that would put them right back on the exact same pit strategy. Everyone has used one set of tires right now. They are on their second set of tires, so they would be back on the same strategy. So I'm wondering if that is what is going to happen, as they would forfeit a lot of track position with those older tires, with the drivers coming on fresher tires, and with them being able to go longer, if they were to go longer, they would forfeit that much more. Yes, they would have the advantage when they finally did pit, but I'm wondering if that is indeed the case, and we'll see some of those guys come down and get themselves back on the same strategy here.
Now, the big question is going to be, John Jenkins, who just pitted 20 laps ago, he can kind of stay out for quite some time. Meanwhile, battle for the race lead is kind of broken out. So Jenkins could stay out here, Greg, and kind of hope for a caution if a lot of the other cars on the lead lap do come down and pit, because Jenkins at that point, you would think, would be out to a pretty significant lead and could just luck his way into a pretty significant advantage. But of course, we'll have to see how things play out as we have eclipsed the halfway mark here in tonight's round 8 of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown here at the Darlington Raceway. Great to have you guys here in the chat. Seth Olson and Stephen Hollingsworth joining as well, and Richard Fletcher saying, I'm under the weather, go get him, Will Worsler Racing. So hopefully you get to feeling better there, Richard, and hopefully we can see you on the racetrack here soon. Meanwhile, back up at the front, the 55 of Yazik still trying to get by the number 2 of Evans, just unable to do so using that lower groove, Rick.
Yeah, Yazik got a good run there, but Evans able to go back on defense. We've seen this time and time again out of Greg Evans. Once he gets up front, he knows how to handle that car in clean air. What this is doing, Peter, as Yazik and Evans battle, this is allowing Alan Young to catch up, and he's going to make this a 3-car battle before too long. There you see Alan Young in the 24. He has closed it in under half a second now as well. We're fixing to have a 3-car battle here before too long.
And the number 72, Michael Krobock, just got around the number 29 machine of Will Worsler to drop Worsler out of the top 5. So Krobock now starting to make some noise in that HPPsimulation.com machine. So we're starting to see a couple of the Loud Pedal Motorsports race cars, the 55 and the 72, both now inside the top 5. Great run for them. Meanwhile, one of the other Loud Pedal Motorsports machines, the 84 of Woody Mohan, on pit road in that Derek Cope throwback.
Woody Mohan in the 84 paying tribute, like you just mentioned, to Derek Cope in his lone Daytona 500 victory back in 1990. We're keeping the top 3 on screen right now. Brian Yazik, he is all over Greg Evans. Yazik has run so strong so many times, getting that win earlier at Kentucky, going against Greg Evans. who has, I believe, 9 wins on the season here entering tonight's race in that number 2 car. But can't take away from Yazik's Loud Pedal Motorsports teammate right now, Michael Krobock in the 72. He has done a fantastic job here tonight as well in the number 72. He leads the points in the ASRS Development Series, which runs on Wednesday nights. So he has definitely proven that he is a very strong competitor. There you see Woody Mohan in the number 84, the Derek Cope throwback that we were talking about. But Krobock, there he is in the Black and Blue HPP Simulations Ford. He's your Development Series points leader, which runs on Wednesday nights. Not streamed on 3Y TV, but he is the points leader, runs with a lot of those guys, and is the points leader. Here he is, top 5 right now. You're taking a look at John Jenkins to the inside now of Jason Stewart. This is for 8th on the charts. Give it to Jenkins. Those new tires still working out, but I gotta say I'm worried with the amount of damage. I'm worried what that might be doing to the motor of the number 7 before too long.
Yeah, wasn't it last week at Daytona where Jenkins blew a motor there coming to like 5 laps to go or something like that? So Jenkins might be in the same boat again here tonight at Darlington. Hopefully that engine stays together for the remainder of this race. Meanwhile, I've been watching the 72 of Krobock. Going back to him, he's been one of the faster cars over the last 5 laps, and here he goes to the bottom of Van Valkenburg into turn number 3. Krobock on the binders just a little bit later. He's going to roll the bottom, slide up the racetrack in front of the 23, give that spot to Michael Krobock. Can Krobock now chase down the front 3 as Young has not quite been able to get to the back bumper of the 55 of Yazik? Evans still holding on to the race lead here at the front as we now have just 63 to go.
So beginning to get to closing stages here at Darlington. Great runs for some drivers we talk about, but we don't really see run in the top 5 a whole lot. Guys like Krobock and Yazik and Young. Great runs for them here today. Look who's beginning to re-enter the battle, though, behind them here going after Jackson Von Valkenburg, Will Worcester, but more on that in a second as Brian Yazik has finally gotten around Greg Evans. Brian Yazik to the lead.
Yeah, that number 55 machine, we'll see it here on the 3-wide TV replay. Got a great run coming out of turn number 4, drop to the inside of the number 2, and the number 2 of Evans just get a little bit of give and take there. Just backed up his corner, let the number 55 by. He knew he had gotten a great run on him. So now Brian Yazik, your winner from Kentucky, out front here, and the HPPSimulation.com machine starting to work their way forward. Meanwhile, Jackson Van Valkenburg, the number 23 machine, he's dropped his Ford Mustang down pit road. And Greg, the pit window is open now that these drivers can make it to the end on fuel. So maybe Van Valkenburg here thinking about their early pit stop strategy. See if he can get out there on those fresh tires, use them to his advantage, and see if he can get himself the lead that way here in the closing laps.
Question now, Peter, is who else goes with the undercut? Does anyone blink and go with the Van Valkenburg strategy to try to get that advantage on those fresher tires for the time being? No takers just yet besides Van Valkenburg as they work through. There you see your top 3 right there. Yazik in the 55, Evans the 2, Young the 24. Still no takers on pit road, but I'm wondering if anyone else is going to go off sequence. The sun has gone down, the lights have come on, and what is it they say, Peter? When the lights go on, the intensity ramps up.
Yeah, absolutely. The intensity definitely heating up here as these laps wind down. The number 29 machine of Will Worcester, he's yet to come down pit road here. And I know he got a couple of caution flags to help him out on his distance on that tank of fuel. But it's got to be very, very soon that we'll see that number 29 machine on pit road. Meanwhile, the 55 of Yazik putting the number 17 machine of Stallings down. Another lap. Stallings sitting in the 24th position right now. Meanwhile, Cody Spiker has hit pit road in that Dale Jarrett throwback scheme. He hits his marks there in that race car. There goes Alan Young. Now, Young challenging with Greg Evans for the second position. Looking a little bit further back, this is around the 11th position or so. That is the number 11 of Seville sitting in 12th right now, and he's going to peel off the racetrack to head down pit road. Very tricky pit road to get to. And is that the 57 of Stykes getting all up out of shape? Yes, it is. That just shows you how difficult of a pit road this is to get onto.
Yeah, very, very difficult pit road. Several takers on pit road now behind them as taking a look at it on the 3Y TV replay. Here you see Stykes just washed up the track. Oh, he got the cone. That is going to be a penalty on the 57.
Yeah, we'll have to check on that. Meanwhile, Will Worsler, your sixth place driver, also elected to come down pit road. So he is getting 4 fresh tires. He'll be down and away with that number 29 machine. So we'll just have to see where he falls back to. Meanwhile, the 23 machine of Van Valkenburg, I think he's already flashed by the number 29 machine with his fresher tires that he has been using over the last couple of laps to work his way up through traffic. So definitely a little bit of strategy here working out a little bit differently for some of these drivers. But as of right now, Brian Yazik up front, continuing to lead the way. Now your race lead is up to about half a second. Alan Young just about 2/10 behind Evans. And then Michael Krobock currently 2 seconds behind the race lead. So Loud Pedal Motorsports first and fourth as of right now. And I know Loud Pedal Motorsports has actually been working quite a bit with the number 2 machine of Evans over the last couple of weeks to try and find some pace, because there's no question that Greg Evans has been pretty much the most stellar driver of the season with 9 wins to his name.
Yeah, and Evans second all-time in ASRS victories, trying to climb up and reel in Jim Foose, getting closer and closer with every victory he gathers, which is up to 9 here today. A couple more takers on pit road. Saw Jordan Harnish and Tim Knott coming down pit road. But no real surprise to see Loud Pedal Motorsports working with Greg Evans in the number 2, who has had a lot of speed in his number 2 Camaro here this season. As there you see a couple drivers on pit road. And what we're seeing on track is the drivers on fresher tires are showing what the pace has. As Tyler Seville just got a twofer right there. You saw he got a twofer, getting them both in one shot here. Now going after Yazik. So with these 3 still being out on the track and on some of the older tires in the field now, when do you think they're going to come down, Peter?
That's an interesting question. You know, I really expect them to be on pit road here no later than 5 laps from now. I don't think they can stick. Oh, the 19 of Spiker's gone around on the back stretch, coming out of turn number 2. He's hard into the inside wall. No caution just yet, and he's going to get that thing pointed in the right direction. We'll have to see if we can go back and see what happened here. We'll go back to that point here in just a little bit. Oh, the 7 in the outside wall. Then the oh man, Spiker looks like he just on fresher tires. It might have come up on the back of Michael Whiting and the number 44 Terry Labonte throwback just a little bit too fast there. Had to check up, maybe a little bit of contact. We'll see what happened here. You'll see the number 7 get into the wall. That's not the first time we've seen Jenkins in the wall. You see the 44 kind of end up as a little bit of a moving chicane there, and Spiker into the inside wall. It's not been the night that Cody Spiker was looking for here tonight.
Greg Evans on pit road from second place. Number 2 coming down pit road. Points leader entering tonight. He has pitted, and he is working together with Loud Pedal tonight. So I wonder now, is Krobock and Yazik going to follow suit as well? Woody Mohan as well. Yazik staying out as well. Krobock. We already saw Woody Mohan on pit road. So Greg Evans down pit road now in the number 2, pitting from second position, giving Alan Young that spot. But heavy lap traffic right now for our race leaders, but it's the guys who are on fresher tires that are making their way past them right now. Gotta say, I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen our top 3 come down pit road just yet. We're going to see Alan Young this time as he's made the left turn down onto the apron. Second place, Alan Young coming down pit road now.
Yeah, and as of right now, we only have about 5 cars on the lead lap. That will go down to 4 as Yazik will put the number 24 machine down, assuming Yazik continues to stay out there on the racetrack. We're now down to just 49 laps to go, I do believe, here at Darlington Raceway. There is the number 72 of Krobock. So for now, it's a Loud Pedal Motorsports 1-2. But how long will it be until Yazik comes down pit road? Well, the answer is he's down pit road right now. The number 55 machine, your race leader, peels off the racetrack as Krobock there throws up some sparks, getting his Darlington stripe in turn number 3 and 4.
Giving the lead to Krobock as Yazik ducks down pit road. Krobock, no wins in the Cup Series, but has run pretty solid, and I believe he got a podium finish at Talladega earlier this year in the number 72, if memory serves correct. So leading laps here at Darlington now. He has run very strong this season, got himself in the playoffs on points, no wins, but is a playoff driver. See how he does here, still looking for that first win of the year, but a very strong run here for Krobock.
Yeah, your memory serves you correct. Good memory there, Greg. He also got the podium at Pocono about a month and a half ago when we did the doubleheader at the Tricky Triangle. But Michael Krobock trying to get another podium here tonight on a very tricky racetrack, the Tricky Darlington Raceway, the track that's dubbed Too Tough to Tame here as he works his way around. Remember, these drivers, they still have a couple sets of tires sitting on pit road. So once they come down pit road, they'll still have that last set on that number 72 car. Meanwhile, all the other cars that recently came down pit road, they also have another set on pit road left. We're watching out back of that number 72 machine. Looks like he might be peeling down onto pit road. He's kind of leaning that way. Indeed, he is. Here comes Michael Krobock trying to get that 72 machine woed up to get to this very tricky pit road. He gets inside the commitment cone and gets down to pit road speed. That is going to cycle the race lead to John Jenkins in the number 7 machine. He has yet to come down pit road. That number 7, remember, involved very early on in some hefty collisions. He started this race inside the top 3. It was looking very strong at the very beginning of tonight, but it really hasn't been the way that this number 7 was hoping for here tonight.
Got a 13-second lead right now over Tanner Sharp, who will be scored in second once it's all said and done right now. But that heavy damage on that number 7 still has me very concerned right now with the longevity of the motor on him. Here comes Tanner Sharp, going to pit from second place, which I believe will give second back to Will Worsler in the number 29 as Sharp makes the left-hander down onto pit road. And Tanner Sharp has been very impressive, Peter. Just, what is this? Start number 5, I believe, for Tanner Sharp, and a breakout race for him last week at Daytona. Great run for him, and another solid run, keeping it out of trouble in the 0-3. Good runs for Tanner Sharp right now.
Yeah, Sharp is going to head down to his pit crew right now and get some service on that race car. Now, the big question is, where is Greg Evans and where's Brian Yazik? Remember, they were battling for the race lead before this cycle. Well, there's actually a lot of ground between them here, Greg. Evans right now is coming to the stripe. He's at the start-finish line now. And Brian Yazik, he's still in the middle of turn number 4. So there's a huge gap between the drivers that were 1-2 as this pit cycle really kicked off. So Yazik has a lot of work to do to close in on Greg Evans. In fact, right now between them is about 8 seconds, if my math serves me correct. So definitely a lot of work cut out for that number 55 machine if he wants to run down the number 2 machine. But Evans is pretty quickly running down your number 29 machine of Will Worsler, who currently sits in second. John Jenkins continues to lead here as he has yet to come down pit road. It's going to be a while, Greg, before Jenkins actually does have to come down pit road. He's still got probably another 15 to 20 laps before he absolutely has to pit, so things could still work out in John Jenkins' favor.
Yeah, right now Brian Yazik still being scored a lap down. He is passing the leader, John Jenkins, to get that lap back right now as we speak. Clears him, so Yazik in 7th position, going to get himself back on the lead lap. And how about that, Peter? Right now, only 7 cars being scored on the lead lap. That's a result of John Jenkins still being out there. If a caution were to come out now, that's going to put a lot of cars in a very interesting position right now.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Oh, here he comes. John Jenkins coming down pit road now.
Yeah, okay, so that's a little interesting. I kind of expected him to stay out a little bit longer, because he did kind of have that time delta. He was still 14 or so seconds in front of Will Worsler in the number 29 machine. So he probably had at least another 13 to 14 laps as the race leader. But of course, that could have affected his race as it went on, because then he'd have not a lot of time to try and make some of that ground back up. Meanwhile, up at the front, Will Worsler now going to take the race lead. You look out back at the number 57 machine of Craig Stykes, but if you strain a lot, you can just see a small dot. That's the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. And Evans over the last few laps has been closing in on Will Warser. Over the last 5 laps, Warser has been averaging a 28.8, Greg Evans a 28.35, so about 0.5 of a second, Greg, so about half a second between Will Warser and Greg Evans over these last few laps.
And Peter, just for those keeping score, we talked about there only being 7 cars on the lead lap with Jenkins leading the way. That pit stop put 10 cars back on the lead lap, now 17 cars being scored on the lead lap. The first car lap down now is Michael Whiting in the number 44, so definitely very confusing, and it goes down to 16 as John Jenkins goes a lap down on the pit cycle, but he's got the freshest tires on track now, and he's only a couple of seconds back of Greg Evans on track right now, so that could very well change very quickly. He's actually between Greg Evans and Will Worsler right now, who's got his teammate Craig Sykes, who's 2 laps down behind him. There you see Jordan Harnish, last car on the lead lap, in a battle with Doug Mullins in the 18, and he's actually gotten around Doug Mullins for position in the number 32. Mullins, of course, was caught up in that earlier incident in the number 18. Again, the Greg Sachs throwback. And Peter, we haven't talked about this yet, but Jordan Harnish, he's driving probably the most famous car in Darlington history, you can argue. He's driving the Tide Ride.
Yeah, I know that that finish here at Darlington between Ricky Cravens and Kurt Busch is going to be replayed many times over the years to come. What a finish that one was. That one pretty much coming out of nowhere for that number 32 machine of Craven to take that one. It was an awesome race. Just that entire race was great, but the finish was just impeccable. And Harnish throwing it back to Ricky Craven's Pontiac here today in that number 32 Ford Mustang as he flashes down the front stretch and off into turn number 1. Currently, that number 32 machine being scored in the 15th position, so the last car the second to last car, excuse me, on the lead lap. And the last car on the lead lap is right behind him. Doug Mullins with Porcupines on the hood. And there's the number 41 machine of Tim Knott. Now, a little bit surprised. I was expecting to see a Terry Labonte paint scheme on Tim Knott's number 41 machine here tonight, but don't think that came off very well. Of course, a couple of other Terry Labonte throwbacks here tonight. One on the number 44 of Michael Whiting, as he just has a brush with the outside wall in turn number 3 and 4. We ride on board, though, with Greg Evans. And Greg Evans is all but caught the number 57 of Craig Sykes, and in front of Sykes is your race leader, the 29 of Worsley.
Yeah, hello, Greg Evans going after the race leader now. First and second, Will Worthler, Greg Evans. Once again, those two find each other as Evans goes inside of Sykes now to try to reel him in. I want to follow up with what you mentioned on Tim Knott. Saw the picture of the intended paint scheme that he was going to run. You mentioned it was a Terry Labonte scheme. It was Terry Labonte's final career victory, which also came right here at Darlington, the other 2003 race at Darlington. I believe that was the last year they ran 2 races here, or did they run 2 races in 2004 also?
I don't remember when they dropped a Labor Day date and they gave it to California Speedway. And hearing from Mr. Producer, that it was 2007. So definitely, Terry Labonte, that race was awesome. I grew up, I'm from Texas, so Texas Terry Labonte, I was a Terry Labonte fan. It was so awesome to see him win that race. I was a Kevin Harvick fan, and still am a Kevin Harvick fan. I don't really watch racing anymore, but Kevin Harvick finished second that day, and really the only person in that entire field that I would be okay with Kevin Harvick losing to was Terry Labonte, because, man, I was such a huge Terry Labonte fan growing up. So it was really cool to see that in 2003. But meanwhile, up at the front, looks like the 2 of Evans got around the 57 of Sykes. Now his sights will be set on the number 29 machine of Worsler here in the closing laps. Like I said, Worsler was losing quite a bit of ground to Evans, but Evans is kind of leveled off here with the number 29 machine over the last few laps. Evans still appears a little bit faster as he closes up to the back bumper, but as you and I know, Greg, catching him is one thing here at Darlington, passing him is another.
Here's my question. Behind them, about 5.7 seconds, we find Brian Yazik, who was leading when the pit stop cycle began. And if Evans has a hard time with Worsler as he gets right up on the bumper, here comes Evans. So we may have our question answered sooner than that, because here comes Evans right now. Worcester able to fend him off. So if Worcester can keep that up, Yazik just gained half a second on him that last time by. Does Yazik have enough time to get up there before the tires start evening out?
Yazik in that number 55 machine, he is gonna have to hustle his way around this racetrack. I know it feels like you're hustling the car around this racetrack, even if you're not trying to track someone down with how narrow this racetrack is. But Yazik's really got to put his head down here to try and catch those two cars out front, especially because he's got a couple of cars in between him and your lead two. Meanwhile, Evans, he's got a good run here coming out of turn number 3. Looks like he's going to show his nose to the inside of the 29. Now he's going to think better of it here, diving off into turn number 3. They have a couple of cars in front of them that are lap traffic, including Harnish and the number 18 of Mullins. Remember, Mullins is a teammate of Will Worcester. Can Mullins kind of help out his team owner here as these laps wind down? We're going to have to find out, but we have just 25 laps to go around this famed mile-and-a-half or so racetrack. I think it's just under a mile-and-a-half, as here comes Evans. Evans in the number 2 machine. He's got his nose down to the inside as they go off into turn number 3.
Evans drag race with Worcester into turn number 3. Worcester's got that outside, though. We've seen it work at Darlington. Going to work again here. Oh, they touched coming off of turn number 4. Drag race down the line. Worcester and Evans side by side. Worcester led the lap, but Evans getting the run. Worcester in the wall into number 29. By the way, while this is going on, Brian Yazik has shaved a second and a half off of that. He's gaining on half a second a lap. But now Evans leading the way into number 2 after the contact.
Yeah, we'll watch this one more time. There was definite contact between the two right there. Looks like Evans might have just washed up the racetrack a little bit. There was no give or take there. This is all take at this point in the race as these laps wind down. Greg, as you said it, as the sun sets, the action heats up.
Absolutely. Intensity ramping up here at the Darlington Raceway. But now the question was, how is lap traffic going to affect it? Greg Evans has almost gotten through all of it. I believe only one car left in front of him, that being Tim Knott. Will Worcester, one car back. That's Doug Mullins, the 18. Brian Yazik is closing in on this lap traffic now. Peter, we talked about that 2003 finish a moment ago between Craven and Bush. Remember, the third place car, Dave Blaney, was catching them at a torrid pace, much like we're seeing Brian Yazik right now. Could we possibly be shaping up to see third place steal it once again? He's down to 3 seconds. He is the fastest car on the racetrack right now, but he has a lot of lap traffic to deal with in front of him. They're coming to 21 laps to go next time.
Yeah, Brian Yazik, over the last 5 laps, has been averaging a 29.2. Compare that to Greg Evans, who's been averaging a 29.5, so about 0.3 of a second per lap that Yazik is clawing out of that lead. Now, of course, now that that number 2 machine has gotten around Will Worcester, we might see that fluctuate just a little bit, but great job by that number 55 machine to get his head down. I was a little bit concerned, Greg, with just how long the number 55 machine stayed out there on the racetrack during that pit cycle that we had, but has now slightly fresher tires and is trying to use them to his advantage.
Lost a little bit of ground to Greg Evans that time, though, because now he has gotten into the lap traffic. He was getting around Spiker in the 19. Got a little bit of a clean track now, about another half lap before he catches up to Tanner Sharp in the 03. So this could allow him to gain a little bit more ground on Greg Evans, who is not really gaining ground on Tim Knott right now into number 2, chipping away little by little here in Darlington. They ran about the exact same lap time Yazik and Evans did, whereas Worcester lost a bit more ground to him. So Worcester, the 29, the hit to the wall definitely affecting him as Yazik is closing in. There you see Worcester. Yazik is at the tail end of that group right there. 3 lap cars between them. Yazik going after Tanner Sharp now. Sharp going to give him the space. So it's not going to be much longer before Yazik's knocking on the door of Worcester.
And of course, the number 2 machine of Evans, he's caught the lap traffic of the 41 of Knott, but Knott clips the outside wall, and that is going to allow Evans to scoot on through. I was just going to say that I think Knott was going to put up a little bit of a fight, but he couldn't because he clipped the wall just a smidgen. And now Knott will become the first car 1 lap down in the 15th position. There's Worcester kind of snowed under right now with that lap traffic right behind the 18 of Mullins. Right behind him is Harnish, and then you find the 57 of Stykes. But then behind Stykes, just closing in, play the Jaws theme music, because the 55 of Yazik is starting to knock on the door of a couple of those cars in front of him.
First up is going to be Craig Stykes in the number 57, who's 2 laps down in his Sliced Porcupines Will Worsler Racing entry. Brian Yazik, of course, the Loud Pedal Motorsports driver, working with Greg Evans this week. There you see Evans in the number 2, and all of Loud Pedal Motorsports, with the exception of Woody Mohan, paying tribute to Bryce Whitson this weekend here in the Darlington Throwback race. There you see Greg Evans. I believe that might have been, if I recall, I believe that was one of Whitson's championship schemes that he's running. Had the Amazon Prime logos on when Whitson was driving that car with a 00 on the side. Evans, of course, paying tribute to that this season. Not sure the story behind Brian Yazik's car that he's running with the HPP logos on board as he gets around Craig Stykes. 3.2 back now, but the big number for him, he's only a half second back of Will Worsler, and there's only one car between them. Make it 2 as they get around Michael Whiting, and Doug Mullins caught the wall right in front of them, and he had to chase it down the hill. So Doug Mullins, a little bit of a nervous moment there, and he's going to settle in as Yazik going around on the outside right now. So Yazik and Worsler trying to pick their way through lap traffic, and we're coming up on just 15 laps to go. I think we've just eclipsed 15 to go, actually. So we are closing in here at the end of this one.
Yeah, Yazik now very much stuck in that lap traffic. He is losing ground to Greg Evans, 3.5 seconds behind your race leader as of right now. Yazik going to drop to the bottom here of Jordan Harnish, see if he can get the power down a little bit sooner than that number 32. No, he cannot, so he's going to have to slide up in behind that race car here. One driver I'm keeping my eye on, Greg. Great recovery here tonight. That's the number 7 machine of John Jenkins. We saw him use that alternate pit strategy. He's used that to his advantage. He's now up into the 9th position. So what was looking like a disaster of a night early for Jenkins, I believe he was 1 lap down in the early going. He now finds himself up inside the top 10.
Yeah, great run for John Jenkins, all things considered. If he can hang on to a top 10, it will feel like a win for him the way that car has run. But Digby in the number 14, he is about 3 seconds back trying to reel him in right now. We'll see how that works for him as we're in the closing stages here on board with Brian Yazik, tracking down Will Worsler. They've all gotten through lap traffic, but it is on from here.
Yeah, Yazik's going to have to make pretty quick work of the number 29 machine if he's going to have any opportunity to run down the number 2 of Evans. Evans trying to get into the double digits in wins this season, Greg. That is absolutely nuts that with how competitive this series is, that Greg Evans could get into double digits, but this could change everything. Caution flag out here at Darlington. We'll see if we can figure out exactly what happened. Ooh, there's the number 32 of Harnish. Just a couple cars behind that lead group. There's the 03 of Tanner Sharp. There was contact, and the 32 goes around right in front of Stykes.
Did you see who made it through there? 4th place, Michael Krobock, playoff driver.
Oh, man, yeah, I briefly saw that number 72 just kind of peeked his nose out there from behind the 18 of Mullins. Let's go on board with Krobock here and watch this all happen in front. Krobock goes down to the basement to get around it. Fantastic job there by Krobock.
Fantastic job by Krobock. And here we go, Peter. Everyone's coming down pit road for that final set of Goodyear tires. So it is on from here. Top 3 coming down pit road. Rest of the field coming down. We are going to see it from here. This is for the win.
Yeah, Will Worsler there in the number 29 machine. He has the best pit box for this because Worsler, he qualified 2nd behind the number 77 of Giese. And Giese in that number 77 machine, I don't believe he's out there on the racetrack anymore. So the 29 is going to have a straight shot out of his box. Meanwhile, the 2 machine slided into his box nice and neatly as well. We'll have to see who wins this race off pit road, which could very much shape who ends up winning here tonight at Darlington. Raceway. Left side's going on that number 29 machine. The 2 is rolling. The 55 is rolling. Who's going to win the race off? That was easy by the number 2, but I think the 55 of Yazik might have just pipped the 29 of Whistler to the line.
Just barely. So this is going to set it up here from here on for a duel perhaps between Yazik and Evans, if that is indeed what stands here. Krobock going to be up in the mix as well. I believe, did Jared Hagerty gamble on 2 tires? As he came out in 5th, Peter, I think Jared Hagerty may have taken a gamble here for some track position.
No, Hagerty, he took 4 tires. Hagerty was just up there and had a fantastic run, fantastic pit stop. So Hagerty, what can he do with the front 4 drivers here when we go green here in just a little bit? But we're going to step away for just a brief moment. Quick word from our sponsors. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is Iracing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Darlington Raceway here. The nighttime has descended around this 1.5-mile racetrack in Darlington, South Carolina, and get a little bit of aerial view, of course, courtesy of the newest Microsoft Flight Simulator that just came out. Great game if you haven't already picked it up. It's super, super cool. I have it myself, and here at the racetrack, though, back at ground level, couple of cars electing to take the wave around, but the first car is the 5th car in line. That is the number 2 machine of Greg Evans. He's going to have a little bit of lane choice here for this restart, and looks like he is going to pick the high line, Greg, and I gotta say that's the preferred call here typically at Darlington here for these restarts, especially with the fact that we're going to be restarting with just 5 laps to go. And Greg, possibility of green-white checkers. We do have 3 attempts here at a green-white checker in the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. And of course, this is one of the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown races. So could Greg Evans be walking away with another SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown event win?
We'll see. He has been Mr. SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown this season in the number 2. One, I believe, what was it, the first 4 of these races that we had this season in a row before he got unset in that. But I gotta say, I'm so impressed with Brian Yazik in the number 55 and how he has been able to run with them. And look at Krobock up there in 3rd, Will Worcester. They're all on the same tire package now. It is go time. Here we go. Green flag, and Greg Evans getting going early on this restart.
Yeah, that number 2 machine shot out like a cannon. Michael Krobock cannot stick with him. Yazik going to slide up into 2nd. Krobock going to slip through up into 3rd. Worcester now back to 4th. We have yellow bannered cars 1 through 4. First car without a yellow banner, that's Jared Hagerty. He is not in the playoffs. He is trying to get a run on Will Worcester down the backstretch. Hagerty going to dive it down to the inside. Hagerty almost contact with a 72 machine of Krobock. Hagerty slides up the racetrack. Worcester lets him in, but almost contact there between the 6 and a couple of your playoff drivers. Now just 4 laps to go. Yazik trying to close in on the number 2 of Greg Evans.
Definitely a nervous moment there for some of those drivers up there, especially Krobock, because we were on board with Hagerty when he made that move. Ooh, some contact in the back between Alan Young and Jimmy McKee. Those are a couple playoff drivers, but here we go. Greg Evans, Brian Yazik. Remember, Evans kind of working together with Loud Pedal Motorsports here this weekend. Here we go. Down the front stretch, 3 to go. Are on board with Yazik. That is the distance to him and Greg Evans into number 2. Working together this week to get ready. Both paying tribute to Bryce Whitson. As they come down the backstretch, on board with Brian Yazik, who's driving Whitson's 2016 car, we found out on the commercial break. Here we go. Going to be 2 to go at the line for the number 2 of Greg Evans, but Brian Yazik, he is wheeling and dealing, trying to catch him.
That number 55 machine, he has almost got to the back bumper of that number 2 machine. Oh, into the outside wall. The 55 has to save it. Great save by Yazik, but that will open up the door possibly for Michael Krobock to slip through up into second. Looks like the 2 machine of Evans going to drive away with it. Contact. Fantastic save out of the number 72 machine. He's still trying to save it. Contact with Van Valkenburg, and caution flag will definitely come out. No, it will not.
We had already taken the white, Peter. We had already taken the white flag. Greg Evans coming down the backstretch. He has a big lead over Brian Yazik. Hagerty up to 3rd now. Will Worcester back there in 4th, but Greg Evans had already taken the white flag by the time the crash happened. He's coming to the checkered.
Greg Evans going to get into double digits in that number 2 machine. Takes home the win in the Bryce Whitson Jr. throwback paint scheme. And Greg, I know who he's dedicating this win to in that number 2 machine as the rest of the field flashes across the start-finish line. Tough break for the number 72 machine of Krobock. He, of course, one of your playoff drivers. He's going to come home in 16th after that wild ride right there at the end of this race. I'm sure he is not all too happy with that in that HPPsimulation.com Ford. We're right on board with him right now. But here on the front stretch, Greg Evans, he's going to burn it down right here in front of the start-finish line. Greg Evans goes back to victory lane here in the American Sim Racing Series, picking up yet another win in the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown. It seems like a little bit of a cheat code for Greg Evans in that number 2 machine when it's the SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown event.
10 on the season for Greg Evans. Double-digit victories. He was the points leader at the reset, and here he is starting the playoffs off with a victory. But you've got to feel for Michael Krobock there in the number 72. Had such a strong run going all day long, and that's unfortunate. He's going to fall outside the top 15. But here you see your winner, Greg Evans, starts the playoffs off in style with another victory here at Darlington.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to get another look of that contact between the 72, the 6, the 72, and the rest of the field here. Just because, that's a tough break for that number 72 machine. Definitely going to send him well down the order. Let's see if we can see that. Now, one thing that kind of all triggered this, Greg, is the 55 got in the outside wall. You see him loose there. The 55 just lost all that momentum. The 72 of Krobock kind of went down to the inside. Now watch what the 72 does. He goes into the corner, lets up as to not wash up into the 55, and when he checked up, the 6 machine just hit him in the rear, and it was on from there. The 2 machine had already crossed the start-finish line, so the white flag had already been displayed, which means no caution here in Iracing. And the 23 of Van Valkenburg also getting a heavy chunk of that. He drops all the way back to 11th. Tough break for the 23 machine, because Van Valkenburg had a great night going. There you see the 72 spinning around like a top. He was able to get that thing pointed back in the right direction. Man, I thought that was going to be a spectacular save. Wrong place, wrong time for Van Valkenburg to be involved in that. But Greg, it was go time here at Darlington.
Absolutely. It was for the checkered flag. That was coming to the white flag, so you got to go for it. Here, you got to fight for every position you can get as we take one more look at it. There you see the 55 of Yazik coming up into the picture. We'll see Krobock with a run on the inside. Just checks up and nowhere for Hagerty to go.
And it looked like he had it saved, and then goes back down there on the bottom of the racetrack, and then there's Van Valkenburg right there. Not sure if the 72 knew that Van Valkenburg was there. Maybe the race car was still light. He didn't have all four wheels back underneath him just yet. But that contact definitely pretty much ending the night. Here we go on board with the number 29 of Will Worcester. Now he was able to squeak through this one, get a fourth place finish. There's that contact. Lots of sparks being thrown up. Great job by Worcester to go down there. And look at the number 24 machine of Alan Young squeaking by to get up into the top 5. Another good run for that number 24 machine here tonight.
Yeah,
but Greg, I think we need to step away here for just a brief moment to line up some post-race interviews, and we will get to talk with your top 3 here in just a brief moment here in this throwback race. We'll be right back here on 3Y TV.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is Iracing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and SERVPRO.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Darlington Raceway, where tonight's SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown event has come to a conclusion. And it was also the first race of the round of 12 in the playoffs. And what about some of those championship implications that we saw here tonight? We still got a couple rounds to decide who will be in the final 8, but we do have some post-race interviews for you lined up. The first one is, of course, going to be your third place finisher here tonight. And Jared Hagerty, Peter Short here in the 3Y TV booth. Man, I'll tell you what, you probably didn't want to have that contact there right at the end of the race in that number 6 machine with the way things panned out. But anything you think you could have done differently right there at the end, or just hard racing? I know it's kind of where when you're at the end of the race, you got to go.
Yeah, and I want to give my sincerest apologies to Michael there. That was unintentional move, but it was one of those circumstances where the 55 had gotten into the wall there. We were both going for the same real estate. I had a faster car than Michael at the time, so at the end of the race, it was just blinders on and wanting to go for as many spots as I could. So, but again, I got to apologize to Michael for that one.
I mean, it seemed like one of those deals where he might have checked up just a little bit to not run to the side of the 55, and you kind of got that run there on those fresh tires to get back in the gas. And, you know, it was just kind of a little bit too little too late when you tried to check up.
Yeah, it was just one of those racing incidents. But again, I'll give my sincerest apologies to Michael. But really proud of the way were able to run here at Darlington tonight. I mean, the Cheerwine Toyota was just absolutely hooked up. I mean, we missed the start, went a lap down, got that back early, and drove our way through the field and ended up third. I'd say it was a good night.
It seems like this racetrack suits your style. You know, last year you had a very strong running here when we were in the truck series last year. What is it about Darlington that you like or dislike?
Oh, this is my best track by far. I mean, it's just really unique, and it suits my driving style where I'm able to feather the throttle and jerk it loose when I want to. And again, this track, and it's just really odd tracks that I'm really good at. Phoenix is another one I'm really good at that a lot of people tend to struggle at, but this one specifically suits my style.
Well, I'll tell you what, a great finish for that number 6 Cheerwine machine here tonight. I'm sure not exactly in the circumstances you wanted to, but nonetheless, you did have a fantastic race here tonight. Like you said, suits your style, and just all in all, strong performance throughout the night. But before I let you go, you got any shout outs for us?
Yeah, big shout out to my sponsor this year, Cheerwine. They've been on with me the entire year. I'm pretty sure y'all haven't seen a different paint scheme on here the whole time. But Cheerwine, Splash and Go Graphics, everybody from Dirty Bird Sim Racing, Jason, Tim, Clarence, everybody that comes back week after week. And yeah, y'all for putting on the show, and Jim and Sam for putting on the league. And I think that's about all I got for the night. But and thanks for everybody watching too.
All right.
Oh, and I do want to give one quick shout out to the Whitson family. I know they've been going through a lot this week, losing Bryce, and I do remember racing with him really hard at Lucas Oil for a win there, which he edged me out. I finished second to him there, but hey, again, thoughts are all the people in the Whitson family. I know Gary, former racers here. He's up there this weekend, getting ready for the funeral. But thoughts and prayers for the Whitson family here.
Absolutely. All of our thoughts and prayers are with them here on the 3Y TV family as well. But Jared, hope to see you next week at Richmond. We got the Slice Pizza Bar 200 bit there.
Yeah, buddy. I'll see y'all there.
All right. Well, that was the third place finisher, Jared Hagerty in the number 6 machine. But I believe that Greg Renz has caught up with the actual second place finisher, Brian Yazik.
Yeah, Brian Yazik, Greg Renz, 3Y TV, got a copy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Brian, great run for you tonight. Up there leading laps, battling it out with Greg Evans. You had the Bryce Whitson throwback on board. All in all, a great start for the playoffs for you.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't get much better than that. You know, being one more step up the podium would be great, but you know, it's kind of like what I said at the front end of the race. Just execute and be there from the start, the middle, and the end. And, we got there. We got where we needed to be, and you know, a really good start to the round, like what you were saying. So it kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off. I mean, you're not safe by any stretch yet, but having that buffer ain't a bad thing.
Well, Brian, it was a very strong run for you, battling with Greg Evans for pretty much the entire second half of the race. And you were working with Greg a little bit here this week leading into this race and tonight. So what was it like being able to battle with Greg, but being able to communicate with him throughout the course of that race?
It's a different challenge. I mean, because you're really competing against the guy that you're racing for. Let's face it, a guy who should be a championship threat at the end of this. So you really have to think out every strategy move, that much more. But having Greg in the Discord helping out, that's always good. It seemed like a bunch of these big car teams kind of got together and tried to control things. So we had to kind of band together and make some alliances and make it all shake out.
Well, Brian, a second place to start off the playoffs, and that's got to feel good knowing that you now have a pretty solid buffer moving into next week's race.
It feels good. Feels good to get on down the road with a little bit of an advantage. I know the summer break's coming around the corner, so that'll be nice. Or the late summer break, however you want to call it. So that'll be kind of nice to reset. But as long as we have a good race next week, and really solidify things down, I think that's a strategy for the HPP simulation. Loud Pedal Motorsports Ford Mustang.
All right, well, we saw you thank your two main sponsors there, but it's a second place here tonight. So any additional shout outs you want to give?
Absolutely. I mean, shout. It's good, having the reason for the paint scheme. We all miss our friend Bryce. It's you have someone that fights that battle for as long as he did, and he was that's where Never Quit came from, because no matter what the odds, he tried to persevere and make the bright side out of whatever situation he was in. So. Wish I would have got up there. Man, we were trying not to quit. I knew we were three seconds down with like 15 to go, and I thought, man, if I could just get clear, I could maybe make a run at it. But that would have been nice. But Thumbs Up Cancer Down. It's a great organization out of California. If you haven't looked into them, give them a look. We'll give them a like on Facebook. Loud Pedal Motorsports, like I said, rough night for Mike, my buddy back there, teammate. Was there, and then just kind of something happened at the end. So it's just unfortunate for them, but. We'll reload and get on down the road.
All right, second place to start off the playoffs, paying tribute to Bryce. Congratulations, Brian.
Thank you.
And I believe Peter Short has made his way down the victory lane for the 10th time this season. Greg Evans getting it done.
Absolutely. I am here in victory lane here at Darlington with none other than Greg Evans. And Greg, I said it a little bit before the checkered flag that it seems like a cheat code for you that when it's a SERVPRO Wheelman Showdown race, you expect to see Greg Evans either in victory lane or on the podium. But here tonight at Darlington Speedway, I know we had more than just a race in our minds here tonight. So I'm sure you have a couple of things to say here in victory lane.
Yeah, definitely. We racing with heavy hearts, especially this today, because Bryce Whitson, I used to race with him here a long time ago, and I knew kind of what he was going through for the last couple of years. And to hear of his passing, first and foremost, we got to send our condolences to his wife and all his family. But this one, my mom passed away earlier this year. I really wanted to win the next race. But I would put this right there with that. I drove as hard as I could tonight.
Well, you drove as hard as you could, and you ended up in victory lane in that number 2 machine of Bryce Whitson Jr. throwback paint scheme as well on that race car. Great to see that throwback paint scheme. But man, 10 wins on the season. You came into tonight as the points leader. You have all these playoff points, and now your playoff picture looks even better getting into the round of 8. Here in a couple of weeks, but we got Richmond next week and then the Roval. What are your thoughts about the next 2 rounds?
I'm actually really excited. We usually run pretty good at Richmond. It kind of we usually do pretty good on short tracks. And then the Roval, I feel like we'll have a pretty good shot with how we did at Sonoma and Watkins Glen. I've ran the Roval a couple times, so I feel pretty comfortable there. So I think we should have a pretty good shot. We just have to stay out of trouble the next few weeks and make it on to the next one.
Yeah, staying out of trouble wasn't easy here tonight with the accidents that happened out there on the racetrack. I'm sure you were happy to see that white flag in the air with everything going on behind you. But Greg, I know fantastic job for you here again tonight, and I'm sure you have some shout-outs to give, so let's hear them.
First and foremost, I really want to apologize to Will. I'm not sure if I got into him going into 1 and 2. It was real tight, and I seen him get in the wall. So, first I want to apologize to him if there was contact. Me and Will raced each other clean, but like I said, we're definitely keeping Bryce and his family and his wife in our thoughts and prayers. Freightliner, Detroit Diesel, Alliance Truck Parts, Duct Tape and Sure Tape, Iracing Knife Flag, Carolina Sim Works. But last of all, this one's for Bryce. I know the kind of life he lived, and I'm sure he wouldn't want to come back if he could, but we all miss him.
Absolutely, and definitely going to be heavy hearts. The former series champion Bryce Whitson passing away just last week. But Greg, we'll see you next week for the Slice Pizza Bar 200 at Richmond Raceway. We're very much looking forward to it. Best of luck.
Thank you guys, and like I said, thank you guys for always broadcasting this race or these races. It it makes it special for us.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that was tonight's winner, Greg Evans, and that number 2 machine. We'll see, Mr. Producer, do we have enough time for any more post-race interviews or not? All right, let's see if we can get one more in here. Greg, have you caught up with the number 72 machine of Michael Krobock?
I think I have caught up with him, Peter. Michael Krobock, Greg runs 3YTV. Got a copy?
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
I'm going to ask you the same question, man, because there you were battling it out for the top 3. What happened there?
Got turned. I mean, plain and simple. I saw the 55 check up, and I went to the inside because he lost a lot of momentum off of 2, and went down to the inside of the track. I wasn't trying to block Jared. I know people on the chat said I was trying to block Jared. No, just try to give the 55 room. And entered turn 3 at my normal pace alongside the 55. Didn't want to run him over, and just got turned from behind. We ran top 5 all race and had great speed, and I was happy to finish 3rd. If the 6 wanted to push it, I would have moved out of the way and given him the spot. But it really sucks to lose that many playoff points by a guy not in the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely a tough break for you, Michael. Moving forward, though, you got a couple more chances to try to get it back, and a good run here tonight definitely going to help ease that pain because you know you got some momentum going forward into the next one.
Yeah, looking forward to the next few tracks. I'm not sure where we're at next week. Have to check there, but you know, the 72 team has been running strong the last few weeks. We've been rattling off top 5s and top 10s, and so we have good momentum going in the chase. Try not to let this spoil it, but it just sucks not to close the deal. We ran so strong all race. We were on the right tire strategy, working well with Brian, and it just didn't work out. I know the 6 probably didn't mean to do it, but it just sucks to get taken out when you're in the playoffs and the other guy's not. And you know, I tried to give everybody room, just you know, being cognizant of where everybody is in the points and stuff, and you know, give and take. And there was a lot of take there, not a lot of give. So that just sucks.
All right, well, Michael, we'll give you a chance to thank your sponsors because we know you were running really strong up there. We'll give you a chance to give some shout-outs.
Yeah, this is I was running a tribute scheme to my former team owner, Bryce Whitson. This was his paint scheme that he ran at Talladega when I drove for him back in 2016, and we finished 1, 2, 3. So, you know, he lost his life last week to cancer, and we're thinking about him and his family. I got to thank HPP Simulation. Bryce brought them on board to our team, so wouldn't have them as a sponsor without him. DMLC Racing Channel is new on board this week on the hood, so we had a strong run for them too. Clipping that Apex, Thumbs Up Cancer Down, Ready to Frag, Fleximation Systems, Host Venom, Sim Racing Apps, CJ Automotive, Amsoil by Adam Blattle, Spotlight's Visual Spotter System. I got to thank Nick Cohan for this awesome paint, and looking forward to the next one, and hopefully we can close the deal there.
All right, that's Michael Krobock looking for a bounce back next week.
All right, well, Greg, I think it's about time for us to bring up those post-race results, and that number 72 machine would have been on the first page of this chart until that last 2 laps, so tough break for him, but Greg Evans comes home with his 10th win of the season, getting into the double digits and eating into Jim Fusis' all-time winless just a little bit more. Brian Yazek comes home in second. Great run for him in the number 55 machine. Jared Hagerty in third. Will Warser in the number 29 Slice Porcupines machine. He comes home in a top 5 position. Alan Young, also top 5 for that number 24 machine. Great run for him all night long in that Young Gun Creations number 24 throwback. Jimmy McKee in the number 8 machine. Didn't talk all too much about Jimmy McKee and the McKee Lawn Care Services number 8 Dale Earnhardt inspired throwback here tonight, but a great run for him in 6th. Tyler Seville had a little bit of an up-down night, qualified back around the 20th position. He comes home in 7th. Jason Stewart comes home in 8th inside the top 10. Woody Mohan in 9th. That was a little bit of a bounce back. Remember, Mohan involved in a big accident early on. And Adam Jersky in the number 69 Beef Jersky's Cheesecake Machine. We heard that it was pumpkin spice cheesecake here tonight. Comes home with a top 10. In the 11th position was Jackson Van Valkenburg in the number 23 machine. He was involved in that late race scuffle as well. Tim Knott in 12th. John Jenkins, he was one of those drivers needing a little bit of a comeback. He started up near the front, but unfortunately got involved in some early accidents. He finishes with a 13th place run. He came in tonight second place in points. AJ Digby, well, it was 14th for the number 14 machine here tonight. Doug Mullins in the number 18 comes home 15th. Michael Krobock with that late spin all the way back to 16th. We'll see if he can bounce back next week at Richmond. in the Slice Pizza Bar 200. Jordan Harnish rounds out your lead lap finishers in 17th. Sam Crow, first car 1 lap down in 18th with that Neil Bonnet throwback paint scheme. I love that here tonight. Craig Sykes in 19th, and Tanner Sharp, who had a late race penalty, finishing down there in 20th. 21st position falls to the number 19 machine of Cody Spiker. Michael Whiting in the Terry Labonte number 44 throwback finishes in 22nd. JR Bash in the number 4 finishes in 23rd position. Richard Stallings in 24th. Christopher Bouchard, one of your playoff drivers here tonight in the Rum Bouchard throwback paint scheme, comes home 25th. Clarence Bonner in the Carl Edwards throwback paint scheme, 26th. Lee Staples, 27th. Kelsey Rogers, 28th. Pete Baskins, 29th. Alex Giese, who was your pole sitter here tonight. We mentioned it, that it seems like whenever he gets a pole, he cannot transfer that into a good run. Well, that streak continues here tonight, coming home in 30th. 31st goes to the number 66 Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson machine. 32nd, Todd Kirkwood. In 33rd, Brandon Stokes. And rounding out your 34 car field, James Orello, who you'll see here on 3Wide TV this Friday night as well. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, we want to give a big shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles that we bring you here on 3Wide TV. And of course, the sponsors of the American Sim Racing Series. We got Hacksaw PC, SERVPRO, DB Sim Racing, American Regardless, Glassdoor Brewing, Victory Lane Quick Oil Change, Carquid Transportation, Patriot Media and Marketing Services, Step Tire, Falcon Race Wraps, and Slice Pizza Bar. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, and of course, Mr. Carlos Acosta, we want to bid each and every one of you a good night, and we'll see you next week for some more playoff action right here on 3Wide TV in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. See ya!